talk about something now that's challenging, right, during these incidents. So we have this huge, large-scale incident that's going off, and phones are blowing up. The center is getting wave after wave of all of these heavy-duty calls, and it's really, it's challenging. So I want to ask you a question and see if you can answer it for me. When do we hang up? When do I disconnect from a caller? Okay, so if we're talking about our primary call taking phase, we're a little more abrupt, right? If I'm getting good information from a reporting party, I'm getting good information from on scene, I'm probably hanging in with that call as long as I can, right? Because they maybe they see the shooter and they can describe the shooter, and they're giving that good, race, gender, head to toe description, and they're doing it really well, and they're making sure that you're getting good information. So that caller, I'm not going to bail on, but now it's a little harder. So during that primary call taking phase, mom or dad calls, and they're calling for their son or daughter that's at the school, and there's a shooting at the school. They're not at the school. They don't have any details for that incident. We have to bail on that call, right? I mean, get contact information if you have related information that you can help them with. Hey, monitor your emergency notification system, monitor the school social media for updates. But right now we don't have any more information for you. Bye. And that's hard to do, right? I mean, I'm a father, I'm a grandfather. I would not want that to happen to me on the phone. But in that primary call taking phase of this, we really have to know that that's the time to disconnect, when I'm not getting pertinent information to task. All right, remember that. Pertinent information to task. What are we getting from this reporting party? And if it's not beneficial to stopping the threat or keeping my field responder safe, then it's not something I'm going to waste my time on, okay? And on the other hand, we are talking to a good RP who really has a lot of good information for us that's safe. And we're getting good information that's helping us stop the threat and keeping our field responders safe. We're hanging in on that call. Okay, on our secondary call taking phase, if we've mitigated the shooter or we're working through other things, now we're informational. And, when people ask questions, are everybody all right? Is everybody hurt? Is there anything here? Is there anything there? Again, we're only putting out facts that we know. Okay, and we're only putting out facts that the incident command wants us to put out. All right, we're not giving out a ton of information. If we have staging areas, we're sending them to those staging areas or meet-up spots, and hopefully in your city, you've worked out, especially for your public buildings, where we have these meet-up locations that are safe and defined, that are accredited. We should work towards that. There's an accreditation for those spots. And make sure that we have all our ducks in a row when we're giving that information out, and then we're disconnecting. Sometimes people just want to talk and talk and talk and talk, and the benefit of that is this solving a problem? Is this helping us with solving our tasks? And if it isn't, we have to move on. So, when we're teaching our call takers, we're teaching about empathy and being empathetic and making sure that we care about what we're doing. So, am I empathetic if I hang up on somebody? There's a time and a place, okay? Like I said, that primary stage, we're really moving to task. That secondary and tertiary stages, now we can take a little more time, but we're still not staying on the phone just to stay on the phone. Okay, there's still a lot of things going on the floor, and we have to work very hard at triaging through those things, right? Again, we're looking for what's the primary focus at that time, okay? So again, we're being empathetic, okay? But remember that phrase that I told you before: professional before nice, but professional, okay? I know and I understand what the world is and political correctness, and I understand all of those things, and I would not want to be minimalized or marginalized on the phone. But we have real life safety tasks that we have to perform at this point, and we have to make sure that we cover those, okay? So again, it's a hard question to ask. When do you hang up? What's the rule? what's that Sharpie marker rule that we're going to use and write down in our policies and procedures? You're probably not going to have this in your policy and procedures. It's going to be a decision that you make. So again, if you're receiving pertinent information to task, stay on the phone, especially in the primary phase of that or stopping this threat. If you're not receiving that information, well, now that's a time to disconnect and to move on to the next caller and see if you can get better information. Okay? So really think about that because it's hard. Think about all the times you've kind of stayed on the phone and let somebody talk. Okay, well, it's 2 in the morning and you're talking to an elderly person and it's not busy. I don't care if you talk for 2 hours. I would appreciate it if you did, because that person needs to hear a good voice and a professional, caring, empathetic voice, okay? But in the middle of an active threat, it's a different call-taking type, okay? So talking to somebody in crisis, we are talking to somebody in crisis, but, you know, we have to move to stop the threat. I mean, if we're talking to the shooter like we were just talking about, well, now I am going to make those all open-ended questions and try to extend this for as long as I can, okay? So be in the moment. Use your active listening skills and people skills to understand what's going on and when you should disconnect, okay? That's a discussion I would definitely have with your leadership and with supervision, your training committees and your policy writing committees, and make sure that everyone's on the same page. That's actually a really good monthly training to do is when do you disconnect and when do you move on to the next caller. Okay, that's something that should be in part of your training, okay? So building this skill and getting these skills to happen, it takes practice and it takes repetition. You got to do that work, okay? So again, discuss this amongst yourselves. So think about it in your head and play out different scenarios of when you would move on to the next caller, okay? So think about that for a bit and we'll move on.